We are starting this class on Tattwabodha. Tattwabodha is the text. We started we have done 11 classes so far. So we'll chant with the Shanti mantra first. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Gananam Tva Ganapatigam Havamahe Kavim Kavinam Upamashravastamam Jeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Ana Shrinvanutibhi Siddh Sadhanam. Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha. Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. And we'll chant the Manglacharan of the text, the first slok of the text. Vasudevendra Yogindram Natva Jnana Pradam Gurum Mumukshu Nam Hitarthaya Tattwabodho Bhidiyate. Tattwabodho Bhidiyate. Okay, welcome everyone. So we are continuing with this text, Tattwabodha, which is a description of all the elements, all the parts of the scriptures that we encounter when we get into the study. But in itself, it is a complete spiritual text about understanding my true nature, about realizing it, and then molding my own behavior to it. So today we'll see a part of that also, how to mold my own behavior in accordance with that. And then if we just do a quick recap so far. So first we saw that this text, this study, if it has to be entered into, it is to be done with a student who has made up his mind that he really wants to learn this subject, really wants to know the questions about creation, questions about my own nature that I don't understand, I don't get the answers from outside, from others. So if we study this, we get basic understanding of almost all the questions that we think about when we ponder about our life, right? And so in this text, we started with first, the student must be mentally prepared. So for that, he has to have the sadhan chatushtay sampatti. He has to have the qualities, the fourfold qualities by which he has disciplined his mind, he or she, and got the required concentration so that the knowledge can be absorbed. Without proper focus, no knowledge can be absorbed. And without the proper bhava, the feeling that I really need this knowledge, I really want to learn this knowledge, the knowledge doesn't get assimilated. So this knowledge, when we enter into, we encounter a lot of resistance initially. Maybe circumstances don't favor us, maybe parents, maybe people around us, they don't encourage us for this kind of knowledge. But at the end of it, we will always find that it is worth the effort. So now when we've entered into this, the student is ready, then the knowledge of the all the elements, the five elements, the body, the three bodies, stool sharir, the gross body, sukshma sharir, the subtle body, and karan sharir, all are vasanas. They all are tendencies residing in the causal body or the karan sharir. These are the three bodies we studied, and then the three states, Jagrit, Swapna, Sushupti, the waking state, the dream state, and the deep sleep state. And then finally, we answered the five koshas, the five layers of our personality. So, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and finally, the most innermost Anandamaya Kosha. And we also learned that they are all related to the three bodies also, right? And so my personality, I have always thought of myself as the body, but when I examine by virtue of logic, then we saw in the last class that I am actually not this body. This body is just my instrument, and I am the soul, I am the Atma, I am the consciousness. Atma having three aspects is three, you can say swabhava, or whatever it is its nature. Its nature is of existence, infinite existence. Its nature is of consciousness, infinite consciousness, and the nature of ananda or joy. So we saw this whole consciousness. We saw also that because I am consciousness itself, I am not a conscious being. I am consciousness itself. And this consciousness being infinite, that means existence, consciousness, and bliss. All three are actually the same only, right? So we can then slowly, we can withdraw some corollaries from this knowledge. A lot of things, of course, we can go on and on about this, but just a few short ones I'd like to bring our attention to so that we can understand more about what is the uh, benefit of knowing this knowledge, right? So when we go into this knowledge, the first thing is I notice that when I am consciousness itself and I am infinite, then this whole world it exists within me. Nothing is outside of me. Because I am infinite, then nothing can be beyond me or outside of me. Otherwise, I would become finite. So if I am infinite, this whole world will merge into me. So that means rule number 10 of Vedanta is that the final seer, the Antim Drashta, the final seer is the sole reality, and everything has to merge into it. So because that final seer is the sole reality, then that reality I can merge all the visible world into that. सारा दृश्य प्रपंच उसमें समा जाएगा. All whatever I can see, I can merge into that. So that means the cause effect relationship that I see between all the objects, whenever we see anything in the world, there is what we call a cyclic nature to the world. There is a cyclic nature to the world. The child, the father, the child, the father, and so on. So this cyclic nature, when we understand, there is no ending to that. So if I have to find the end point, then I have to
Volume
go to
कम
the
करो.
consciousness. So if this consciousness is the final seer, that means that if it is infinite, the whole world I have to merge into it. That means the all the cyclic things that I'm seeing, all the cycles that I'm seeing in the universe, they are all mithya. They are all just an imagination, just a projection by this Atma. Then only can I truly accept that this Atma is infinite. This consciousness is infinite. So, because all the things in the world that you see, everything is cyclic. It will come back. So you can never go back to the original cause. So, which is not possible. Whatever thing you understand, you can always go back to some cause. This is the cause from which it has arisen. But that is the logical conclusion. But if we understand the objects of the world, nothing has a final cause. All the elements merge slowly into smaller and smaller particles until we finally reach pure existence itself. So that pure existence also we understood as infinite. So there can be nothing beyond the final seer. So this Antim Drashta, we call the final seer or the consciousness, is actually the only and sole reality. It's the only and sole reality. Then we saw the five properties of consciousness. Consciousness is not a part, product, or property of the body. Consciousness is an invisible principle that pervades and enlivens the body. Then consciousness is not limited by the boundaries of the body. Then consciousness survives even after the body is gone. And then finally, pure existence, rule number 5, pure existence cannot be perceived. Pure consciousness cannot be perceived. So these 5 rules that we have seen, you can do this as a homework. I'll just say it in short. Understand that same thing you can apply to existence also. So if consciousness is not a part, product, or property of the body, existence is also not a part, product, or property of the body. Because if it were a part, then the other part existence would not be there. But that is not true. We see existence everywhere. Existence cannot be a product of the body. Then you have to think of it as something separate from the body. So that is also not possible. And it cannot be a property of the body. That means the body will forever exist. We will never die if existence is a property of the body. So that means it is not a part, product, or property of the body. And it is independent of the body which is pervaded, because this consciousness is available all around us, everywhere. There is never a smallest point in this universe where this existence is not available. We saw by the logic, everything has isness attached to it. This is everything. So you cannot say this is not at for anything or any point in space. In even the space exists. And then again, existence is not limited by the boundary of the body. The same rule, because once we see it ourselves as this body, but beyond this also existence is there. Then this existence survives even after the body is gone. This body may come and go, existence will always be there. And finally, pure existence cannot be perceived. Existence can only be perceived when there is a form, right? When there is akar. So when there is a form, then we see a substance, an object, a shape, and then we can say that this existence is here. But without that also, the existence is always there, right? So now we come to another corollary of these postulates, this logic that we have understood, the logic of the joy part, ananda part. So what is the logic? It has to become a beautiful part of our inner being, this ananda. When I realize, of course, we have seen the logic that this whole world is born out of ignorance, right? So that is one way of looking at it. Everything is born out of ignorance. But when we go into the full Vedic understanding, that this is Vedanta, Vedanta is not separate from Vedic understanding. It is just one way of teaching the Vedic truth, right? But the Vedic truth is vaster. It is bigger than what we learn in just what we call a logical text, right? So what is this? What is this? What is this Vedic truth which is wider than this? It says that Ananda is infinitude, and from Ananda is everything born. It is because of Ananda that the universe is born out of the soul reality. So everything is a product of Ananda, right? So when I learn that my true nature is Ananda, that gives me a very beautiful perspective in life, right? What perspective does it add? मुझे क्या सिखाता है? What does this Ananda tell me? That when I am joy itself, this whole world is within me, then I have to see the whole world as an extension of myself. And when this is an extension of myself, then I have this beautiful feeling within myself, which is called samatvam. Samatvam. In Gita, Bhagavan says to Arjuna, Samatvam yoga uchyate. Samatvam is the true yoga. So if we go into the full shloka, that yogastha kuru karmani. Be very fixed in this yoga. This understanding of this true nature of yours. Yoga is connecting yourself. Be one with that reality. Be understand that truth so clearly. It is always a part of your being and your behavior. And Sangam Tyaktva Dhananjaya. Give up all attachments. And then Siddhayo, Asiddhayo. Whatever is proved or whatever is not proved, go beyond that. Samo Bhutva Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. This yoga of Samatvam, seeing yourself as everything, is the most beautiful part of our spiritual journey. So once we understand that, then we see that I have to give joy to everyone. I become a source of joy for everyone. I become cheerful. I become more happy. I let because if I want joy, then I want to see that joy around me. I give joy to people around me, and that is why. This is not teaching us to run away from this world. It is teaching us to seek joy in this world. I have come into the world, so let me spread that joy. That is my nature. And when I spread that, then what do I look for? I look for all the people around me and see positivity. I have to infuse that positivity in everything in me. Sukha and dukkha, the good times and hard times will come to me. But where does dukkham come? Where does dukkham come? What did we learn about this? We learned that if my no joy, my nature is joy, then why will dukkha come? When I detach myself from this knowledge, when I let myself suffer from any, disconnect, when that yoga is not complete, when my thought is separate from this knowledge, then I see people as different from me. Then I maybe hurt them, maybe I do something bad to them, and or maybe unconsciously I say something inconsiderate to them. So whenever I say those things, they do not strike me at the same time, but sometime or the other that person will feel bad and that will come back to me. But when then sabatmam is very rigid within me, very strong within me, I will be very conscious of the things that I say. I will always want to spread this joy, and when this joy is spread, I will never have a moment of sadness or hard times actually. It is only when we give up this samatvam, when we, become selfish, when we become selfish not just for ourselves, sometimes, no, we become selfish for my children, my family also. And at their cost, I reduce or I, take away the joy of someone outside my sphere. So I have to widen my sphere of joy. Everyone, no one should be outside this sphere of joy. So when this sphere of joy is wide, and then nothing. So if you have heard in Hindi, there is a saying, दुख में सुमिरन सब करे, सुख में करे ना कोई, जो सुख में सुमिरन करे, दुख काहे का होय. So when you are remembering God, in Mahabharata there is a story. So Kunti Ma says to Krishna, give me pain, because then I will remember you. Right? So that is true. That is in a way understandable. But the Vedas teach something farther. They tell us, yes, of course, whenever there is pain, we remember the Lord. But if I remember the Lord, if I remember my true nature, then the pain won't come. Then when I am happy in that time also, I am at one with my true nature, or I'm remembering the Lord who is giving me everything that I have today. Then that sense of gratitude always keeps my countenance joyous. मेरा चेहरा खिला रहता है. I'm always happy. I'm spreading that happiness around me. So when I stick to my inner knowledge with the inner nature of joy, then I never does bad times come to me. They only come two ways. Bad time come. Two ways hard times or tough times come. First is when I have done something wrong to someone. So we'll study that in karma theory at the end of this. When I do something wrong, then I am hurting that person. And that person will somehow or the other will not have a very positive attitude about me. And somewhere the universe will come back to, equalize that. And I will have those tough times. I will have those hard times. It might be something small as even, killing a small ant. So it was said that Bhishma Pitama suffered on that bed of thorns, because bed of arrows, because he in some previous janma used to take a pin and kill some bugs by pin using that pin, and that came back to him as karma phalam. So such a realized person, such a knowledgeable person, he did something wrong. So this kind of pain that we inflict on people around us, it will always come back to hurt us. That is one way dukh will come to us. I am detached from my true nature. I am hurting someone else. Second one, what is the second one? The second one is when I am not in control of my urges, when I do something wrong, I am angry, I am passionate beyond reason. Then I do some wrong things. I am not able to control those urges. So nature will come again and again to bring those situations where I will have to conquer those urges, and they will keep coming. So those are the bad times, right? So for a true sadhak, those bad times are also a blessing from God. They are a blessing from God to learn that I have to control those urges. I have to control. There is some bhava within me. There is some feeling within me that is not right. I have to correct this. And then what he has to do further? He has to go one step further. He has to go one step further by making those vices also as weapons. How do you make those vices as weapons? What are the five main vices that we say in Hindu spirituality? Kam, Krodh, Lobha, Moha, Ahankar. Right? Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Ahankar. So when all these five vices are there within me and they come to the surface at some time or the other, I have to learn to direct them in the right way. So when I'm connected to my true nature, then what happens is I have to understand that I have to give my anger at the right place, right? I have to convert my anger to pushing someone to do right. Or if someone is doing wrong, I have to scold, right? If there is someone of some other, spiritual system or religion or whatever, they are doing something wrong, it is my duty to direct that anger towards them, to correct them. But never it should be in the form of hatred. That is, I have to remember, right? So that has to be in the form of love. Just the way the mother is angry with her child, her anger is never filled with hatred. It will never be, ringing within her even uh, after the scolding has been done. The scolding is just to push the child into the right path. So in a way, we all have to develop this motherly feeling within us. This comes out from this Vedic knowledge, this Ananda, right? That is why woman is said to be the highest in the stage of development, because she has gained all the knowledge, and now she's come to this world to express that love. That love has to be expressed by giving to others, helping others. So this motherly attitude we also have to develop. That way we will turn all of the vices that can afflict us, जो भी हमें तंग करती है, into positive forces, right? So at the end of a bout of anger, I should not be shaking with rage and not be thinking about that for another hour or day or weeks or months also. Some people do that, right? So we have to overcome that. So if something wrong is being done, convey that thing, and also by knowledge of keeping my own knowledge intact. Mera swayam bodh, my knowledge should always be intact. Once that is intact, uh, people will not be able to change my knowledge. So I have to have a very good study of my scriptures. Once that study is there, then people will not be able to, change me or affect me. So those who are following any wrong system, they will never be able to force it upon you. And you, with your nature and your beautiful nature, when you show your scriptural knowledge and you show it in your behavior, you will be able to influence those who are, going into the wrong path. And this way you become a shining example. So we go to the other ones also quickly. So krodh, then kama, desire. So desire I have to convert into a positive force for creativity. I have a desire, but I can use it to create more beautiful things in the world, create beautiful things for people, for others in need, and so on. So that creativity can come only when this desire I focus in the positive direction. For someone who is an agyani, for someone who is not, who does not know his true nature, he makes that desire into a force for his own selfishness, right? So that kamna becomes only focus for gaining something for himself. But for a true person, for an artist, for the artist, the performance is important. Of course, the applause is important, but it is the actual performance which will give that person joy for so much longer, much longer than the actual event. Right. So this is the beauty of having a desire and manifesting it in the form of creativity. So Kam, Krodh, then Lobh, greed. You say, why? How can greed be good? It can be good. Your greed is bad when it is for your own person, or just for your family. But when your greed is big for the country, you accumulate more wealth. The country needs lot of wealth to run. Right? So the one who is in charge of the company, the country has to impose different taxes, generate revenues, and so on. So that lobha is there, that greed has to be there for a person to generate more and more for more people. When you are doing things for others, then that greed does not bite you back. It does not hurt you back. You focus it in the right way. Then Then moha. Moha is delusion, we say. But how can moha be good? Moha can be good when it is your, when you make your moha into uh, your karma yoga, right? So when you do karma yoga, what you do everything for a higher power. You surrender to a higher power, right? You surrender to, you can say, a higher altar. It can be God, it can be guru, it can be the country. So when you make that moha of yours, a total immersion is what is moha. You get totally immersed in the object of your uh, tension. And so when you do that, you do your work with such focus that your focus helps you accomplish the jobs in much faster time and in a more efficient manner, right? So, and finally, ahankar. How can ahankar be good? Ahankar also, when your ahankar is bigger ahankar. Now, right now, your aham is me, this body. But when your ahankar becomes my family, my community, my country, the world, the universe, and so on. So, when it becomes wider, I do things as a unit. I make a sankalpa. I make a sankalpa. This is what I want to do for my community. And then everyone joins to me. Everyone joins to me, and I'm able to manifest that. So this is how we have to turn our ananda, our inner ananda, into a positive force for making this universe so beautiful that our own survival becomes beautiful. My own survival becomes happy. I am forever at joy. It's not just a joy of knowing I am infinite, I don't need anything. That is a part of it, of course, right? But when I make it my behavior, then true joy also comes from the external sources also, right? I don't have to depend on external joy. I am complete. But when I manifest my completeness, then this joy becomes wider. It spreads out to more people. So that is the that is the beautiful part, or the useful part, you can say, of our spiritual nature. When we delve more into this, then running away from things is never an option, right? Right. Of course, I am not criticizing sannyasa. I never do. I have highest respect for the sannyasis, because they are carrying forward our tradition of knowledge, right? So it is not running away, never. It is, in fact, fully surrendering yourself to the service of knowledge. Yeah, so they have done that. Maybe all of us can't do, no? If I try, think of teaching, I can teach maybe once a week, but those people are teaching us day in, day out. They are spreading that Vedic knowledge, which we will lose. So that is a very higher form of surrender, right? But when you are in your grihastha form, or when you are even in the earlier stages, you're a brahmachari, then all of those times, sorry, all of those times, you have to apply your knowledge. So every day is a test. Every day is a test that I can, manifest this knowledge and apply it, so that I don't fall from grace. I don't fall from the grace of the Lord. So how do I do that? By always being connected to my true nature. So when this nature becomes one with me, I can always remain in a state of joy, both at external and internal. Hard times or bad times will come the minimum possible for me, right? So in this way, I can take charge of my life. And then uh, once we just excel in all this uh, feelings of joy, then I can, it slowly becomes habit. It becomes habit. It becomes my nature also. It becomes my nature. Some people are always smiling and laughing. Why? They have years of practice behind them of doing good to other people, of being happy around people. And so those people are always smiling and happy. It's not that they are making a conscious effort and just, spreading their lips to appear happy. No, they have an inner happiness. You can judge it on their faces, right? So in this way, when we go on, we can make this ananda as my actual nature and not just something I read in a textbook. So then we now go on to the next part of the text. I'll just share that onto the screen. I'm sorry I took a long time on this part, but I can go on and on. But this is the main part of spirituality. This is the main part of learning this knowledge so that you become an asset to people around you. You become respected and loved. So Anandakaha Sukh Swarupaha. This is what we sought now. And now we are going into the creation, the world. So till now, what we saw was Twampad. Twampad is Tvam means you. So we will learn more about it when we learn Mahavakyas. But just in short, there is a big there when I have to discover my true nature as infinite, then the teacher has to come and tell me. Initially, I don't know it myself. So in Chandogya Upanishad, the father, the teacher, says to his son, Shvetke, hey Shvetketu Tattvamasi. You are that. Who are you? Are what? You are that consciousness. You are that infinite reality. So when that teaching is taught, then there are, we call three parts of that. Uh, the teen pad. Tat Tvam Asi. And this is there in all the Mahavakyas. All the sentences. What is a Mahavakya? A sentence detailing or pointing towards my true nature, or equating my limited being with the infinite reality. Right. So when we look at that Tattvamasi, that then Tat, he is saying to the father is saying to his son Shvetketu. So Tat represents the individual, right? The jiva, and then Tvam. Sorry, I'm really sorry. Tvam represents Tvam is Tum. It represents the Jiva, and Tata represents that Brahman, that soul reality, that infinite reality. So that represents the you can say the universe or Ishvara, which we will be studying here. So we have done Twampad and Tatpad, and later on we'll do Asimi. Asir is the relationship between the two, establishing the equivalence or equality between the two. So then we have seen now Twampad so far. Now we'll go into the Tatpad, or the understanding the nature of the universe around us. So we'll just read first. अथ चतुर्विंशति तत्व उत्पत्ति प्रकारं वक्ष्यामः ब्रह्माश्रया सत्व रजस्तमो गुणात्मिका माया अस्ति तत आकाश संभूतः आकाशाद् वायुः वायो तेजः तेजस आपः अद्य पृथ्वी एतेषां पञ्चतत्त्वानां मध्ये आकाशस्य सात्विकंशात् श्रोतीन्द्रियसम्भूतम् वायोः सात्विकंशात् त्वगिन्द्रियं सम्भूतम् अग्नेः सात्विकंशात् चक्षुरिन्द्रियसम्भूतम् जलस्य सात्विकंशात् रसनेन्द्रियं सम्भूतम् पृथिव्यां सात्विकांशात् घ्राणेन्द्रियं सम्भूतम्. So we shall go into this one by one. So just we'll learn the steps into which we are going into, how we are going to into this. So first he says, enumerates the total parts of this reality. What are the different number of elements which we can separate this reality into, and then we'll split them up one by one. So atha chatur vinshati. So 4 plus 20. 24 are the tattvas of this universe around us. Of course, there are subdivisions and so many others, but the major categories are these 4 and 20, 24. So this utpatti prakaram, how they have come into being, or how they have come to into evolution, how they have evolved this visible verse, vakshamaha. We shall say. So vakshamaha, such a beautiful way. We shall say. So why? Because the speaker is not accepting the knowledge as his own, but as that of the Guru Parampara, or of him and Ishvara. He is accepting that the knowledge is not his own only; it is something he has learned from Ishvara or the Gurus. So that Guru Parampara he is acknowledging by saying, "We shall expound. We shall say. Now we shall explain." So there then he comes to the first part, Brahm Ashrayaha Sattva Rajas Tamo Gunatmika Maya Asti. So we are entering into Maya here. Now, Maya, the total, the creative power. So if there is Brahman is the sole reality, and he has his power. This power is Maya. This Maya has three gunas. It is split into three basic properties. The other properties come later, but first the basic properties are Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Right. So now if we are looking at this, all of these 24 elements, we'll go into one by one. But just how does the process work here? So first we are saying is that first there is what we call the Bhuta Srishti, right? The five elements are created. So that is at the subtle level. The elements are not seen. So from that, the five elements, initially the five elements that are born, they are not the visible five elements that we see in the universe, right? They are the Sukshma Bhutani, we say. And then Bhut and then Bhautik. Bhautik is something that is born out of the Bhutas or made out of a combination of the Bhutas, right? So Bhuta is the pure element and Bhautik is the combination of those elements. So first level of combination where it happens at the subtle level. So elements are subtle. So from that, firstly the subtle bodies, the Sukshma Shariras are born, all the Sukshma part of Srishti. And that includes all of the subtle realms or worlds that we cannot see. So all the 14 lokas that we hear about, the 7 higher lokas and the 7 lower lokas, they are all born out of these subtle elements because we cannot see them. Right, so the elements in their subtle state, they produce all of these. The bhuloka, of course, is visible. So bhuva, swaha, Jana, Tapa, Jana, Tapa, and Swaha. So all of these seven lokas represent the different planes of reality that are subtler than the universe that we live in, the universe that we experience, the world that we see, the gross world. So they are the higher levels. So they come from the Sukshma Bhutani. And then finally, then these Sukshma Bhutani, these Sukshma Bhutas, they are then finally through what we will learn as the process of Panchikaran. So they are converted into the gross elements. The gross elements, the ones that we see in the universe. And from that is manufactured all of the gross universe, all the things that we see, including our own bodies and so on. Right? So all of these bodies are coming out of or manufactured out of this gross elements that come up next. Right? So before we enter into that process, so we just understand first that the part about Brahm Ashraya Maya Asti. So Brahman or Brahm is different from Brahmaji. Brahmaji is the part of the Trinity, the creation aspect, right? So this creative aspect is one that is doing the job of all creating all the jivas. But Brahman represents, we say Brahm also in Sanskrit or Hindi, and we can also use an extra N so that we don't confuse it in writing with that Brahmaji, right? So that is a manifest part of the Trinity, the one that takes one of the functions of Brahman, the sole reality. So that is why we say if you read the Puranas, you will find all of these three trinities are given place of importance in some Purana or the other. Why? In Brahma Purana, Brahmaji is the highest. All the rest are lower than him. Right? In Shiva Purana, Shivji is the highest. Even Vishnu is lower than him, or Brahmaji is lower than him. And then again in Vishnu Purana, Vishnuji is the highest. So why? Because it is the same Brahman only who is manifesting by different functions. We give him different names. So when he's creating, I've said this earlier also, so sorry for repeating, but just to understand this point that we are going to be making now, that all this one Brahman is doing all different functions. So whatever function he is doing, we give it a name for that. That is why Shiva is the highest in that Puran, because Shiva is not looking at himself as just Shiva. He's looking at himself as a manifestation of that Brahman. Right? So he's the highest. Even Krishna is the highest in Gita or in the Bhagavad Puran. So why? Because Krishna is looking at himself as the sole reality. He will say, I created these worlds. So when he's saying I, then not the Krishna who's born in a body and is come to the earth as a son of Yashoda. So he's not talking of himself as son of Yashoda. He's talking of himself as his essence, his consciousness, his Satchit Anand Swarup or Brahman Swarup. Right? So this uh, first part is Brahman, the sole reality from which everything is manifest. So it has two aspects, Nirguna, Nirguna or Nirvikalpa, where there is no thought, no duality, no separation, and Saguna is the visible aspect. So the Saguna, how does it come about? With the help of Maya. So Maya is what? Maya is his own power. So Shakti and Shaktiman. Shakti and Shaktiman can never be separate from each other. I and my powers are one with me. They are not separate from me. So Maya is not a separate entity, right? But what is the difference here? Brahman, poor Brahman, he cannot manifest anything because he is infinite. He cannot be split into parts, but his Shakti can, project everything. Right? So his Shakti can project everything. It can create the universes. It can change into parts. It can manifest all the parts. So that is why we say out of Ananda, everything is manifested. The union of Maya and Brahman represents the union of male and female, and through that union, the whole universes are manifested. But actually, neither is Brahman male nor is Shakti female. It is just a way of representing it, right? So the infinite reality is also not. It's also beyond gender, and even Maya also is a Shakti, is a power that also cannot be feminine. It does not have any gender, but for the sake of understanding, we use that. So that is how Maya becomes the universal mother, Parvati, and so on. All the aspects by which she's the wife of Shiva or Vishnu, and so on. So that is how we have all these different names for Devi. Devi has so many different forms. So again, if we go to the Devi Purana, there Devi is supreme, right? So that also expresses the same thing. She is one with Brahman only. She is not separate from. But there is one important part here I mentioned earlier also. We say this Maya or this Shakti, what we call, is anirvachaniya. So, indescribable. So again, I'll repeat, we don't have to say that we are incapable of defining it. The meaning merely is this, that we cannot say that whether it exists or does not exist. We cannot put it into words. So just like we cannot capture Brahman in words, Maya also we cannot capture in words. It is there because I experience it, but it has no reality of its own because it is dependent upon Brahman for his reality. So Brahmashraya Maya Asti. So in Saundarya Lahari also it is written, Shiva is powerless without Shakti. Shakti is the soul. Shakti is the soul controlling entity. Right? So there also he shows that how Shiva or the consciousness, that is Shiva is representing the consciousness here, is blessing everything. By his blessing, everything is happening. Without his blessing, nothing can happen. But the actual work of creation is to be done through Parvati or Devi or Maya. Right? So that is why here it is written Brahm Ashraya Maya Asti. So that Maya in is blessed by Brahman. So this Brahma is using his Shakti called Maya to create all the universes. So what are the parts of this? Sattva, Rajas, and Tama. Right? So first of all, we'll just add something here from other texts. How is this manifestation done? There are two parts, right? So Maya, we say, is also we call ignorance, ajnanam. So why? Because without ignorance of my true nature, the duality or something separate from me cannot be manifest. So in ajnanam, there is ignorance of my true nature. So when that ignorance is what we say in the form of a covering, my true nature is covered. I am not made aware. So that is what we call, there are two Shaktis of Maya. uh, one is the Vikshep Shakti, the power of projection, and the second is the Avaran Shakti, the power of covering. So the first part is the power of covering. My true nature is hidden from me. So once my true nature is hidden from me, I see the things that I project around me as separate from me, right? I see them as separate from me. So when I see them as separate from me, I develop what we call a relationship with the objects around me, right? So this relationship that we develop, it creates a different all the different kinds of feelings we have. The positive ones, raga, I have attachment, not so positive in a way, but still. And the negative one is dvesha. I have a feeling of aversion. I have a feeling of not hatred exactly, but it's something I not don't like, right? So dvesha is something, some things I don't like to do, so I remain away from them. So because of this, all the objects around my world, they become uh, a part of my reality, but separate from me, the doer or the jiva or the individual. I think of myself as one individual being, and others also as separately different individual beings. And this is the power of maya, by which the vikshepa is the projection part. It projects different beings around me, different people, different objects. So all of these objects become my world, my universe. And this is how the whole world of names and forms is projected. Brahman has no name or form, no akara, but from it, from that reality, all the world of names and forms is created by this Maya. So how does it do that? We can visualize it like three threads woven together, and then you separate them. Together, they are not, they are in a state of what we call samatvam, or a state of no vibration. But then when the universe has to be manifested, the vibration starts. So the lighter part rises to the top, the middle part stays in the middle, and the heavier part, it goes down. So these are the three gunas: sattva, rajas, and tamas. So sattva is the lighter part. It represents the knowledge aspect, right? The knowledge aspect. And then rajas is the active aspect, Kriya Shakti. So not that Kriya Shakti we saw in Prana. Here we have Sattva is the Jnana Shakti, Rajas is the Kriya Shakti, but Tamas is not Ichha Shakti. Here the Tamas represents what we call Dravya Shakti, the power of matter, right? It is the power which into which the other two Shaktis merge. It is the one that drags them down when they need to rest. So rest is a necessary part of our existence. So that rest has to come and can only be brought about by this lower layer, or this tamogun. This is present in all the visible objects. All the visible objects are born out of this tamas only. So this we shall see when we see the elements separately. So how they are generated. So all these three gunas, they are they separate the universe into three different parts, and from these three different parts, all of these uh, elements and all the remaining universe are born. So these three gunas, they act upon the all elements of the universe, the five elements, right? So first of all, this Maya, it creates the five elements. So first of all, first one, which one comes? Akasha. Tataha Akashaha Sambhuta. So first, in when the universe is manifest, we say at the big point, Big Bang, everything is at a point. It is a state of no information, no knowledge, and out of that, then the universe starts expanding. So what is this expansion? Akasha. So first, there has to be a space where everything can be manifest. That is why we say this Akasha is a actual element, right? It is not something absence, right? So today we earlier in what we call the Newtonian physics. In that Newtonian physics, Akasha was treated as absence. So nothing is there. But then modern research has come about. We see the universe is expanding. We see the Einsteinian physics, where the space is seen as a gravitational field. It bends in a gravitational field. So if something can bend, something can expand, then how can it be a total absence? So space is a positive entity. And later when we study other, you know, other texts like Vaisheshik, there we clearly understand how this space can be compared to what we call the dark matter of the universe. So 80% of the universe is dark matter. So what is that? In our system, that dark matter represents space only. Right. And that is, then again, we can go into black hole theory and all that all comes from Vaisheshik. So there we have all those theories. So when we look at it here, so first, of course, the space has to be manifested, right? So from that space, then the other elements come out one by one. So just like something goes from a subtle to a gross state, that grossification happens. So first of all, Akashaha, then Akashaha, Vayu. So Vayu is the next one. So Vayu is a bit less subtle. We cannot perceive it through our eyes, but we can feel it. We can feel it on our skin. So that is why it is associated with the sense of touch. So then again from Vayu, we say Tejaha. So Tejas. So Tejas represents the Agni Tattvam, the energy part. So energy comes. So energy is more perceivable. Energy has a more visible effect. Or in terms of the actual fire, you can see the fire. So it represents the first appearance of form. Akar. Form is appearing through Agni, right? And then Tejasa Apaha. So from that Tejas comes the water element, the liquid state, and then finally Advaya Prithvi, the solid state. So all these represent, in a way, we can say the five states of matter: the solid state, the liquid state, the gaseous state, and then again, of course, the energy state and the final state of the Akasha, the space. So we say, or we have learned through modern physics, that energy can be converted into matter and vice versa. So in a way, that energy also is a form of matter, right? And similarly also Akash also represents how all of this matter is slowly disappearing into the akasha, and slowly this matter in the world, the visible matter, is reducing and the dark matter is increasing. Why? Because the universe is expanding, the space is taking up all that visible matter and converting it into what we call dark matter. Nothing dark about it, simply it is not visible because it has taken the form of space. So all these five elements represent the five states of matter. And then again, I'll share another slide I've got here. I'll just. So all of these five elements, they have one guna each. But when there is what we call a karan dravya, and there is what we call karya dravya. So space is the initial one, the first. It is the first karan dravya, right? It is the one from which everything starts to be born, right? So in space, the first guna is what we call sound. So Shabda. So space has only one property, Shabda, right? So this Shabda is a part of space. Anywhere in space, we can generate sound. That is why we say space is a property of sound. Of course, we can learn there are other ways of deriving also. We can see that in Nyaya, and we also seen it earlier in when we saw in the first part. So basically, how do we understand? There are five properties. So there are five properties. So they are all available to the four elements that we can perceive easily. So if we leave out first of all Shabda, we don't know, but Sparsh, Roop, Rasa, Gandha, they are all associated with the remaining four elements. And there are five elements. So by the law of remainders, we call it the Parisheshat Nyaya. So by Parisheshat Nyaya, if there are five properties and five elements, then the fifth one must be associated with the fifth element only. So that is how we understand this thing. I gave the earlier example of someone leaving five apples on a table, and five students are there. Each one is seen living with one, but one is not seen. Then the fifth one must have taken the fifth apple. So that is what we call the Parisheshatnyaya. So by this we understand that Shabda is a property of or a guna of space. So space has one guna. Shabda, space. All types of sounds are carried through space. Of course, they are not manifest because there has to be some other element where it can be manifest. That is why, first of all, air is needed for that space to be manifest. So from space comes air. For space, we have the element called touch. So touch is the sparsh. Sparsh is the feeling, all the feeling sensations that we have. So that is the actual guna of space, of Vayu or air. But of course, there is also sound associated with that. So when the wind moves, we can hear a rustling sound, right? So that rustling sound represents the sound because it has come from Akash. So it will have the guna of Akash and its own extra guna, which comes when it becomes more grosser. So if you can look here in the chart, there is this part, we have Swa Vishesh guna and Swa Karan guna. The dark yellow is the Vishesh guna and the light yellow is the Karan guna. So the Karan gunas are the gunas or the properties that come from the cause, right? From the cause. And then the Vishesh guna is its own guna or own property that comes when that element is actually produced. So Vayu has two properties, Shabda and Sparsha. Then Agni has three properties. Its own property is Swa Vishesh Guna is uh, color or form. So Roop, Roop ya Akar. So Roop or Akara is the property of fire, and of course uh, it has this sound also, the crackling sound when we hear the fire burning, and then it has a touch sensation. You can test and see. You touch the fire, you will know it is hot to touch, right? It has this touch sensation also. And then next is of course water. So water is again has four properties, Chatur Gunaha. So the fourth one, its own Swa Vishesh Guna is taste. So we can say water does not have taste, but there is a certain taste. Of course, you can distinguish it from the taste of other objects, but it has its own taste, or it is the starting point of all taste. So how do we understand that? In your mouth, unless water is there, जब तक मुंह में पानी नहीं आएगा, you will not be able to taste anything, right? So it is the originator, sorry, it is the originator of taste, right? So rasa or taste is the property of water. And of course, again, it has this rippling sound, which shows that it has shabda. It is cold to the touch, so it has a touch also, right? So that is a property coming from the touch of the air, and then finally the crystal clear nature of water or blue when it is a bit deep. You can see the blueness of the sky reflected into that. So that color also or form also is there in water, right? So in this way, it has four properties. And then finally, Gandha mm, or smell is the property of the fifth element, which is the Prithvi Tattva earth. So it has its own guna, the Swavishesh guna of earth or Prithvi is this smell, and then it has all the remaining gunas also. The sound, the rattling sound. It is touch is hard to touch. Colors, it has so many different colors. There all the tastes come into manifestation. All the six tastes. So all these are in this way the properties of Prithvi. So from subtle to gross, the number of properties keeps on increasing. That is why we say, how do we recognize something as subtle? Anything that has lesser properties, कम गुण जिसमें होंगे वो और और सूक्ष्म होगा, and that is why it will be more all pervading. And so we can come finally to the one without any gunas. What is that? Our very own consciousness, right? That consciousness has no gunas, and that is why it's the subtlest, sukshmatamam. It is infinite. Why? Because there is no guna or no akar, no form or shape to restrict it, right? So in this way, this Atma is infinite. It has no gunas. But all of these elements that have come out from the Maya Shakti of this Brahman, the first is Akash, and so finally into Prithvi. All of these elements have come together to manifest this universe, and this universe has these five elements. So when initially they are in the subtle state, so from them the different elements of the Sukshma Shariram are manifested from these five elements. So today I think we are out of time now, so it'll take some time also to go into the individual manifestation. But in the next class, we shall see how from each of the elements, the Gyanendriyas, the Karmendriyas, the Pranas, and of course our Man, Buddhi, Chit, Ahankar, all of them, they come from the subtle part of these five elements. So the subtle five elements, they are born. And how the three gunas are acting upon them. How are they responsible for these different elements to be born? So that we'll look into the next class. So we'll wind up for today. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरि ओम् श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम्